and they're hoping for Church of England and the Methodists soon as well. So one strand of their campaign is on faith communities. The other is campuses. They've got groups in 50 campuses around the country working right now. They are having a little competition between them to see who's going to be the first to push their university to divest. Glasgow looks like it's getting close, but as David mentioned, the SOAS College has temporarily frozen. They're going to make their decision properly in November. And then Oxford has a big movement as well, with including 100 senior academics that are really pushing the university to ask their students and staff whether they should divest or not. And then they've also taken an interesting health institutions as a target as well, and they've gotten the British Medical Association to divest. So allies in interesting places. In Europe, we've got university and pension fund divestment campaigns in Germany, Sweden, and Netherlands so far. And you may have seen Norway and their ripeness, so we may well be heading to Norway soon to start help pushing that as well. And then we're starting to do research in both Africa and Asia. And it's in Africa, you've got a lot of the stuff that others have told you already, so I'm going to skip through all sorts of things. But the World Bank notes that half African countries are facing an energy crisis. 27 out of 54 African countries have a total generation capacity of less than 1 terawatt hour. That's the amount that Africa generated in 2010. 629 terawatts of energy is equal roughly to the generation of Canada or Germany. That's our entire continent. So that the regional demand for energy, along with escalating prices and plentiful reserves, will drive expansion into coal development in Africa, according to Frost and Sullivan. So the African countries wanting to try and build their electricity infrastructure fast are turning to coal because we're such a good role model of that, and we would like to sell them coal as well. And unfortunately, that's really making ground. Ghana, Egypt, Mauritius, Botswana, Mozambique, and we are planning to build coal power stations. And it's also looking quite likely that South Africa will export our coal to Ghana, Egypt, and Mauritius, at least out of those as well. So luckily, we're also getting renewable energies into the mix, and there's a lot of advocacy happening around the coal-dominated paradigm that we're in. I mean, the challenge in South Africa is a tough one because we're challenging basically our minerals and energy complex, which is kind of the foundational basis for our economy. And there is a pretty consistent revolving door between ANC ex-politicians and the coal mining and power sectors. So yeah, there's a lot of political people with that are invested in coal or have close family members that are invested in coal. So this is not an easy fight, no matter the rationality of it. In South Africa, you also may have seen the Oxfam publication, You Can't Eat Electricity, Oxfam and Ms. McVeigh, which states that the impact on the poor and vulnerable communities in our country and the fact that the benefits of this industry are primarily for the wealthier segments of society. Even with the cost of renewables reducing, we still have coal-3 being pushed, and fracking and nuclear, etc., etc. So this effort here is the first. It's very exciting. Really, really grateful to all of those of you that have been putting in lots of hours to get this off the ground. UCT does have a standing that if you're successful, it's going to really make some impact. What 350 is also looking at doing is we're teaming up with Oxfam to do some research throughout Southern Africa we're wanting to look at where the potential campaign points are. We don't know yet whether that's going to be pension funds or religious institutions, universities or banks, being regional or national. But that's what this research is going to explore, and hopefully by November we'll have a much clearer sense of our layout, the situational analysis sorted, and can start some serious campaigning ourselves. But we also are wanting to make our resources that other groups are using as globalized as possible, so that they can be applicable for groups such as yourselves or others in other universities that are wanting to pick up this fight and can take it forward. One of the recent wins in the US was a college in Ohio that 350 itself as staff had no part in whatsoever. They just took the stuff off online and they ran with it, and they managed to push it through. So yeah, we try and make our stuff as open source as possible because we're tiny. We kind of have a way of using the net to make ourselves look somewhat large, but there's like 40 of us for all the countries outside the US and Canada, just to give you one indication. So we have to be very strategic about what we take on and build a lot of good partnerships and try and find ways of providing resources that people can run with themselves. Yeah, there is a growing wave around the world. There's a lot of momentum gathering. It would be lovely for us to start being a part of that in this part of the world and add to it. And